And if we see severe weather Friday, it could be in the form of large destructive hail. But how does that happen? It has something to do with a scientific theory called Bernoulli's principle.
That sound is deafening, unmistakable. Hail, big hail. But how can hail get this big? Blame it on the updraft, the thunderstorm updraft. But what are updrafts? In order to demonstrate this, I went to Oklahoma City's iFly indoor skydiving chamber on a day when kids got a science lesson on friction and flight.
The tail takes that burble and flows.
For instance, at 25 miles an hour, water droplets float. At 80 miles an hour, a half-pound baseball stays airborne. How could this be? Only one thing to do.
To make sure they don't fly off your face.
Give my body up to science.
Here I am, and this is me, flying. The winds in this chamber are blowing up at about 130 miles an hour. The updraft is keeping me suspended. The air underneath me is heavier and slower. The air above me lighter and faster. So like a big hailstone, I stay suspended.
How did the hail get that big? Let's go back to the chamber. The strong updrafts in the thunderstorms force the hailstone up into colder air, where it freezes and grows. When the hailstone falls, tiny water droplets suspended in the clouds stick to the icy stone. The updraft throws it back up again. This keeps happening until the hail is so heavy it finally falls to earth.
It's as fast as you're being driven upward. And then when you took me up really high and you start spinning around, I mean, it just really goes to show you how strong an updraft wind is in a thunderstorm.
Updrafts that created the hailstones in Texas last month. Those stones were baseball, even softball size. Storm Shield mobile meteorologist John Haverfield, who's chased hundreds of storms, has rarely seen hail that big.
Well, actually, it's pretty rare to see baseball-sized hail across the U.S. The updraft strength that it takes to suspend the hail so it gets that big is actually something we only see in about 10% of events.
And speaking of large hail, Coffeyville, Kansas used to lay claim to the largest hailstone ever found in the United States. It weighed more than 1.5 pounds.
Oh my God.
Back in September of 1970, that record stood until 2003 when a bigger piece of hail fell in Nebraska.
Incredible.